7:30, September 1st. We are in the City Council chambers. We'll call to order the Economic Development Authority. Item number 2 is roll call.
Bevins. Beezer. Kirsch.
Here.
O'Day.
Here.
Yeager. Johnson.
Here. Next up is approval amendment of the agenda. And I'm looking to approve the agenda, but let's add a public forum after, like, I don't know, 5A, after the approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve with the change.
Second, Beezer.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda with the addition of a public forum. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Looking to approve the minutes from our last meeting on August 4th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. That brings us to, is this where we added the public forum? I already forget. I think this brings us to the public forum. Anybody here to speak to the commission, come up now and state your name and address and your concerns.
Hi, Mike Higgins, 1801 Mill Avenue and 1511 North Pacific Road. I got a couple things I just wanted to bring up today. One is I reached out to Councilman O'Day a month ago about the money that the city of Brainerd has in the revolving loan fund account with that Bladex in control of. And I want to fix some floors in the paper mill. So room 7, or where paper machine 7 was, we've got that room gutted. You know, we've been slowly over the last 8 years using our cash flow and not borrowing money to repurpose that building. And we've gotten to a point now where we need some money. We need to fix about 80,000 square foot of floors in one of the room. It's not something that will cash flow, and I'm not looking for a handout or a grant or anything like that, but what I would like access to is some of that revolving loan fund money that I can borrow at a low interest, pay back over 5 to 7 years, and get the floor fixed. It will increase my footprint of usable space by 80,000 square foot. We are partnered right now with 4 different local manufacturers in doing third-party logistics, warehousing, and storage. Lexington, Viking Label. We have 2 different solar panel companies that are storing solar panels in the building. And we are starting, believe it or not, to run out of space to do our logistics and storage. So I reached out to Tyler under Mike's direction a couple weeks ago and heard nothing until last night. I'm a little frustrated and disappointed that the city has all that money in that account, and I understand it's for gap funding, but I don't think that's necessarily right. I think that I would like them to make a change in the way they do that money, and because I don't want to borrow money from a bank. A bank's or a normal lending institution is going to struggle to walk in that building and look at that floor and loan me money for doing something like that. I need some non-conventional financing or some non-conventional money in order to do it. So I just wanted to voice my frustrations with Bladek and not wanting to work with me or not wanting to look at doing something a little bit different with that money. I understand there's 11 different companies or entities that put that money in there, and they'd have to go through a board approval and everything, but you know, that's whatever the city put in there, that's my tax dollars. That's my money that you guys have and put in there, and I want access to it. So I just wanted to voice the concerns and my opinion and what I want to you guys on the EDA board, just to get it off my chest and make you guys, or help you guys understand what I'm looking for.
Thanks, Mike. Any questions? Comments?
Okay. And I did get an email from Tyler last night, asking me to fill out an application. I didn't have time to talk to him or dig into what he wants. So maybe it could be a process that they are looking at, but I still I was scheduled to come here and wanted to voice what was going on with that. And then the second thing I want to talk about is, I don't know how involved an EDA board would be in this 210 reroute and roundabout situation, but what they're talking about doing is going to be a huge detriment to future economic development in the Brainerd Lakes area. If they put those 2 roundabouts in on 210 and they put that diversion where they can't go straight south on County Road 3, we need to look at the trucks and the local manufacturing that moves products around the Brainerd Lakes area. And I just got involved with this. I was there a year ago when they started this process, and listened to the people. And I was under the assumption that they were going to get rid of at least one of those roundabouts, if not 2. And here we are at a meeting yesterday, a year later, and they have not changed that print one bit. They've changed some corridor stuff in town, but both of those roundabouts are still there, and nobody's thinking about the impacts of the truck traffic that floats around Brainerd. It's actually disgusting the way the engineers and the people that were talking in that meeting just look at us like we're deer in the headlights, like we're nobody, we don't have an opinion. I don't believe they live here. I don't believe they work here. The people that are designing this project and designing this job, and I believe that I'm going to get very vocal, and I'm going to want an economic development group and BLADEC fighting that. It is not going to be good. I mean, I've already talked to 4 manufacturers or companies that have large semis that haul multiple loads a day through that area, and I mean that it just we have to do something. We cannot let, if they want to have dual roundabouts down in the cities, that's fine, but we're Brainerd, and I just don't think it's right. And then they're going to intermix the trail through the dual roundabouts. I mean, it doesn't make sense. We need to reroute that trail and get it away from the roundabouts. We've got time, and I'm all for walkability. I understand all that, but I got to run 10 to 12 semis a day from Bick to Lexington every day. I've got to Crowing Recycling has got to run 40 to 50 trucks a day from their facility in Brainerd out to Ironton. They've also run 10 or 12 loads up to Klaus Stamping. There's a lot of outlying manufacturers and trucking companies that are going through there, and I don't feel like the state or whoever's engineering that project is listening to the right people. I believe they've got an agenda, and they fell in love with this design, and they want to put a feather in their cap for having 2 roundabouts, and that's all fine and dandy, but we're the ones in this community that have to live with this roundabout system, and we're the ones that have to send our trucks through there in the winter and worry about people walking across that and not understanding what it takes to drive a 70-foot semi around. So that wasn't what I was going to talk about until I went to that meeting yesterday, but I believe that you guys need to get involved with that, because it could be a big detriment to future economic development in the Brainerd Lakes area.
So you find the current configuration with 1 stoplight to be preferable to 2 roundabouts?
I believe roundabouts have their place. I'm not an anti-roundabout person. I don't believe that intersection is a good spot for a roundabout. I would just assume the stoplights stay there, and they just need to look at it differently. They need to think about the amount of trucks that go through there on a daily basis. And another thing that really is disturbing is the fact that they keep referencing all this data they have and these studies they've done, but so far I haven't seen any of it. Show us the data. If you have data supporting this design, I think that needs to be out in the public what data they used. And they haven't shown any of it, so. But I don't believe that's a good spot for a roundabout. 40-mile-an-hour traffic coming down 210. You go down to Mankato where I worked down in Mankato for a couple of years, and they have a couple of these dual roundabout systems, and they're not fun to go through. You go to work and you see tire tracks that go right through the center all the time because people are coming down 210, they're not paying attention. All of a sudden there's this roundabout, they can't get slowed down. I mean, common sense doesn't tell me that that's how that design should be.
Thanks, Mike. Any questions, comments?
Okay, thanks for giving me a couple minutes.
Thanks, Mike. Yep. Connie, if I remember correctly, the money we shifted over to the Bladek Unified Fund was originally a paper mill grant from DEED, wasn't it?
It was one of our revolving loan funds. I'd have to go back and look at the detail.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the whatever that Wausau grant of 350,000 or something. So keep us attuned to if it works out with Tyler. If not, we'll definitely let him know how we feel.
Okay.
If we feel that we like the paper mill, but I think we do.
How much does the EDA have as far as a say in any of that?
Well, $36,000 a year to Bladek. That's about how much of a say we have.
A lot, then, I'd say.
Yeah. It could be zero.
You sit with that board.
Tiffany Stengline is the official liaison to the Buff Fund from the City Council, but the EDA funds the general operations of Bladek to a substantially high amount. So I think we could ask Tyler to work on that. Okay, that was 5A. Let's go to 6, financial report. Connie.
I'm just here if there's any questions. Otherwise, I have nothing to add to the report.
Any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to the DDBC report. Wasn't all this in the consent agenda originally?
Yes, they should be consent items. The DDBC, Swanson Hascamp, and Visit Brainerd should be consent items.
Well, let's just let's bunch those together. DDBC, Swanson Hascamp, Visit Brainerd. We all read the agenda. Does anybody have any questions or comments about any of those 3 reports?
I do have one question. Did we receive a report from Bladek? I know we missed one last month.
We did not.
Can we reach out to them for next meeting?
We sure can.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we could just ask him because he's here, right? Tyler? No, he's not here. Okay. With no other questions on those 3 reports, we'll jump all the way up to 10, old business. Authorize the conveyance of industrial park lots to VCV. Jennifer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. As you recall, the EDA entered into a purchase and development contract with VCV Digital Infrastructure Minnesota LLC to purchase the 2 lots at the industrial park. There were a number of items in the purchase and development agreement that they had 180 days to do their due diligence and return documents back to us so that the EDA could approve it. I did put those out in bullet points. I'm happy to go through all of them if you would like, but basically after a couple of months of working with them between me and James, we did get all of the information that was required in the purchase and development agreement. We are satisfied with the information that they have presented to us. We also had our attorney through Kennedy and Graven also double check everything that they provided to us, and they do meet all of the conditions that were laid out in the purchase and development agreement. There are 3 members from VCV that are on the WebEx call with us this morning. If you have any questions for them, I'd like to turn it over to James to talk about the layout of the land and what they're proposing to do.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer. So kind of give a brief overview of what we've been working on for the past month. The original submittals needed some revisions, which we did work with the VCV development group on that. So what they're proposing is essentially outdoor storage containers that house the machinery to crypto mine, as well as cooling towers that cool that machinery. So with that and the overall design that they're proposing, this would be considered outdoor storage as a principal use, which is an interim use in the general industrial district. I guess one of the main things that dictated the layout and design was the fact that this outdoor storage as a principal use needed to be completely screened from the abutting properties, which there's common land in between it, so that really isn't as big of an issue. There is natural vegetation around the entire property, but it does also have to be screened from the right-of-way area. So with that, they are proposing an 8-foot fence. It'd be chain link with slats in it, as well as barbed wire on the top of it for security purposes. Because of that design style of fence, which is doesn't have opacity to it, also has barbed wire on the top of it, it meant that the fence had to be pushed back to the setback line, front setback line of the general industrial district, which was 40 feet. So really the only thing that's present in that front setback area would be the parking area. And then some other things that were required in there that had to be revised. Surfacing is required to be either concrete or asphalt, which they then changed to an asphalt surface for the drive areas. There is on one of the properties an office building, which was shown with cross sections as well as a floor plan that had to meet setbacks of the general industrial district for structures. The principal use of outdoor storage really doesn't have setbacks per se because they're not main structures. I treated that as there's going to be concrete surfaces underneath it, so it really had to meet almost the parking standards where it had to be set back 3 feet from property lines. Landscaping requirements, there are really no landscaping requirements for the general industrial district when it's not next to one of our major thoroughfares. However, part of the outdoor storage as a principal use requires shrubs essentially along that right-of-way area, so that's depicted in the plan as well. And I think that is kind of the general overview of the layout. I'm certainly open to any other questions that that the EDA has.
So the razor wire chain link fence sounds like a lot of fun, but it looks like in the plans that there are trees or bushes.
Yep, so that's required next to the fencing area.
So there will be some type of living
There will be, yep, to help soften that
something,
fence.
yeah, to soften the prison walls that they're
Yep.
putting up. Yeah, okay. Tony?
I'm assuming a SWIP analysis has been done for any watershed and that kind of stuff in the area?
So, yeah, essentially these are ready to go sites. The engineering, Jesse, our city engineer, has reviewed it, and that will be a requirement as well.
Okay.
These are certified shovel-ready sites. The city dumped $5 million into developing this land because the housing market is so hot circa 2005. We'd spend a lot of money to make these ready to go. So now we're getting some storage units outside. Like,
Yeah, I was just confused. Is this office? I know there was 2 projects that they were talking about putting on here. One was the mining operation. One was a data center. Is that office a data center, or is that office for the mining operation?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner O'Day, I would invite Brian, Fred, or Jerry to discuss their operations.
Yeah, I can answer that question. Thanks for the opportunity. The office is really for the staff working on the site. They're gonna be responsible for maintaining the regular operation of the outdoor storages. They are really mobile data centers that will be housing the computing servers for mining Bitcoin. So we probably plan, given the size of the project, there will be 10 to 15 employees here. working out of this office.
Did that answer your question?
Not really, kinda, but the data center that you guys were planning on investing 150 million in, I didn't see that in this plan. Is that still, is that still?
Oh yeah,
something-
sorry. Just to be exposed, we are using the mobile data center, which means the storage units you see on the layout. These are roughly 20 by 8 kind of containers that will house the computing servers. So the data center is in the on the site in these I guess container-shaped storage units.
So no.
I think that's a no. I guess I don't know. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of other items that I thought may be of interest to you. Financing, one of the requirements in the purchase and development agreement was that they had to secure financing for the acquisition and development of the property and prove to us that they had the financing available. They did provide that proof. They also had to negotiate and execute a utility agreement with the city of Brainerd through the Brainerd Public Utility. That also has been negotiated. That is also included in your packet for your review. So if there aren't any other questions, Mr. Chair, what staff is looking for is authorizing us to convey lots 1, blocks 2 and 3 in the Brainerd Industrial Park, first edition, to VCV Digital Infrastructure Minnesota LLC in the amount of $227,815, which was the negotiated price for those 2 lots.
Is that written anywhere in the packet?
It is, Sean, if you want to go to the second page of the memo.
So there's staff's recommendation, if anybody has a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize staff to convey Lot 1, Blocks 2 and 3, Brainerd Industrial Park, First Edition, to VCV Digital Infrastructure Minnesota LLC in the amount of $227,815. Is there any discussion?
I have one
Tony.
one simple question. In regards to the energy block, that document was pretty blank. Do you know how long that agreement is for? How many years?
Fred or Jerry, could you answer that?
Well, that would be.
Yeah, so I think we have a term agreement with BPU. I think it's more than 5 years. However, BPU is getting a distribution charge on us. Essentially, we have to purchase the energy directly from AEP. The way it's going to work is we're going to work with AEP to purchase either 1-year or 2-year energy blocks for hedging purposes. If the rate goes up, if we purchase the block, we'll be protected for the block that we have purchased. Does that answer your question?
So the energy block is for 2 to 3 years at a time, and then it's renegotiated?
It depends on the market because AEP is going to show us the price of various energy blocks, 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. And depending on the price, we can make a decision which block would lock in.
So, Tony, I'm the liaison to the Public Utility Commission, and the Bitcoin mining operations, both VCV and Just for Crypto, negotiate directly with AEP, who we buy our power from.
Correct.
On a purchase price. The PUC or BPU collects a fraction of the transmission costs for what is in the city of Brainerd. I don't know how long the rate is guaranteed through BPU because the operations negotiate directly with AEP. So how much is within the city's wheelhouse? I don't quite know.
And that was just a question because it was left blank. So I was just wondering.
Okay.
That
I
information was
think I can
blank.
answer this question. Hi, this is Fred from. The way how it works is the agreement between VCV and BPU is a pass-through energy blocks plus a transmission fee. So that transmission fee will be added on. So BPU recommended a 1-year contract and continuously renew every year. That's a recommendation from BPU. But energy block purchase agreement will be between AEP and VCV. That's the actual wholesale purchase for the power, and for the service provided by BPU, and that will be the wholesale power price plus a transmission cost. And that service contract I think it's on an annually basis, but it has like a continuous an option to extend, and it doesn't really have a end date on it.
Thanks, Fred.
Thank you.
Does that
Yep.
answer, Tony?
It does. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Fred. Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the HRA Executive Director Report. Eric.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. A couple of quick updates for you today. On August 15th, Brainerd City Council did agree to not recertify nuisance assessments on 3 different parcels that we've been negotiating and working with Habitat for Humanity to purchase. Furthermore, the City Council did agree to also satisfy an outstanding mortgage on that parcel from a previous CDBG or Community Block Grant loan that was on that property. It didn't really hold much weight because there was no structure on that parcel anymore. And so the council did take action to agree to take that off of those parcels as well. What the city is going to get in return is going to be 2 single-family homes for infill projects. We do anticipate that occurring in 2023, and we will move with our board at the HRA to hold our public hearing and then convey and sell those lots to Habitat within the next 1 to 2 months and get them set up for next year for builds on that. I will let Jennifer talk a little bit about the Thrifty Building. We both have that in our update, so I'll let her chat about it because she's been much more intimately involved in that for years. So I'll let her share that good news, and I'll let John just chat a little bit about rehab.
Thanks, Chair Johnson, members of the commission. As you can see at the bottom of the update there, we do actually have those rehab numbers are a little bit updated. We also have a housing trust fund loan that is going to be wrapped up Friday, I'm told by the contractor. That one moved extremely quick. We signed papers last week, and he's expecting to be done with it at the end of this week. So some definite good news there. The Brainerd Oaks, Serene Pines, and Dalmar Estates just kind of moving along. They do have 3 foundations in Serene Pines, and they had various stages of construction in Brainerd Oaks. Some of them were nearing completion out there. So no new requests for any additional lots at this time, but I'm still moving forward. So any questions on any of those items?
Well, just we talked about this in HRA, John, that the housing starts are kind of cooling off nationwide, but in your communications with Level Contracting and whatnot, that they continue to keep moving apace.
Yeah, he has mentioned he's seen some easing, but from what I gather from him, his sales have been pretty consistent. He changed a while back to not pre-selling anything. He had customers getting frustrated because lead times would get pushed out and his costs would change on them. So he went to a model where he just was selling them as they were completed or close to that to alleviate a lot of that. So I think for him, it's been a little more steady, probably not as rapid as some of the other developers. So I think just how he had to change things, his hasn't adjusted a whole lot from what I've known.
Good. Any other questions?
Maybe Tony can comment on this more, being in construction, but it sounds like lumber is actually starting to drop in price. Maybe, not quite back to what it was, but now lumber might be more readily available, but now all of our other supplies like siding and windows and different things are harder to get.
The supply,
Out next year.
that's the hope. Things get better and then all of a sudden they get worse. So, but I think the trend hopefully is that it's getting better in the long term, but there are windows and frames are out along lead times, but hopefully that will change.
Stop shutting down factories for weeks at a time for one person getting sick, and maybe we'll get back to normal.
Hey, Jif peanut butter's back on the shelf. Stop complaining.
I would just add too that our contractors throughout the area are super busy, not just with normal construction, but then we've got the storm damage that we've had this summer too. I know that from personal experience with some storm damage. It is just taking time to get things done, but our contractors are busy. They are able to get product, but there is lead time there. I think it's just setting expectations with folks that were in need of either rehab or new construction, is to get those get those expectations set, and then I think it can move a little bit smoother. And from levels experience, they continue, as John said, to try to sell as they get completed, and I think that's been a good model for them. So we're still very pleased with what they've got going on.
Thank you, HRA. Executive Director report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. I am incredibly excited to share that D.W. Jones did close on the Thrifty White property on August 22nd. Have been working on this since 2015. As you know, when Thrifty White first listed their property for sale, they wanted $1.2 million. Their lease with Thrifty White was ending in July of this year, so it just took some patience and some time. D.W. Jones was persistent, tenacious. They didn't give up. They do now officially own the property. So stay tuned. They are working with the Community Development Department, moving forward on a development there. They are right now proposing a mixed-use building. First floor will be commercial, upper floors will be residential. They are looking at market rate. Maybe a few of the units are affordable, but generally speaking, it's going to be a market rate building. So stay tuned, and we look forward to having them bring more forward and get something on that site. Any questions on that?
You don't have to say who, but do they already have any prospects for the first floor?
Well, yes, for sure, they would like to office there. So they would like their office on the first floor, and that's really all. I know that they're potentially working with the property owner, an adjacent property owner. So I think there are still some things that they need to work out yet. So no real plans, but thoughts and discussions. All right, I did reach out, as we talked about last month at the EDA meeting, I did reach out to all of the consultants who have agreements with the EDA to ask if they were interested in continuing that agreement. I've heard from 3 of the 4 of them, and they are interested, so we plan to have draft agreements on the October EDA agenda. I've just asked for their thoughts and ideas on what they think a scope should be, and then we'll bring it back for discussion with the EDA in October.
Which one of the 4 haven't you heard from?
Pardon me?
Which one of the 4 haven't you heard from?
I have not heard from Bladek.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Next, annex lease with the Region 5 Development Commission. Just to let you know that we continue to work on that lease with Region 5. They have some potential funding that they're kind of waiting on, but we do have a pretty good draft agreement. As soon as they secure their funding, we'll be prepared to bring that lease to the City Council for their consideration. And last but not least, a big thank you to Commissioner O'Day, who did share that the Mills property in its entirety has been listed for sale. As you recall, before a portion of it was listed, and we assumed that the Trust for Public Land had the balance of that. I would assume that the Trust for Public Land is no longer purchasing that property since all of it is for sale. I did reach out to Marissa Mills through her assistant, just saying that we have an agreement with Swanson Hascamp to help with property development, if that is something that the Mills family would be interested in. Sharon, Marissa's assistant, did respond back to me a couple of weeks ago, week and a half ago now, and said she would share that with Marissa. I have not heard anything back since then. And that concludes my report, unless you have any
All
questions
right.
of us.
Yeah, well, I just think, I mean, with the high school project being done, I don't know what the heck Andy Picard's doing the next 5 years. Maybe he could develop that land for high tech. I don't know.
He might be busy.
Okay, he's still busy.
I do have one question.
Yeah.
Jennifer, I don't know if you're the right person to ask about the grant matching, or is there someone else on the committee that can give a little update? Number one, and number two, everything according to the documents needs to be turned in by September 5th, which is a holiday.
Whoops.
So is there an addenda extending it to Tuesday?
No, a couple of things on that. I did not know Bladek would not be here. I was hoping that they would
Okay.
provide an update to how many applications we received and the dollar amount. I know I talked to Tyler about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and there were $600,000 in applications. But as I've seen with grants in my career, people tend to apply at the last minute. So I would expect that number to be even considerably more today than it was when I talked to Tyler. As for the due date of the application, September 5th is Labor Day. We did talk about it in the committee. It is all electronic, so they don't actually need to bring anything in. So the discussion was we would just keep that due date as September 5th, but they're actually not going to turn off the website until the morning of September 6th.
That makes sense. Thank you.
And that was discussed in the subcommittee group.
All right, thank you. Mike, you're aware of the DEED Main Street program? And yeah, okay. Any other questions of the Executive Director? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next one. We're actually going to go back up to 5A. Scott, did you have something you wanted to say to us today? No, you're just here to watch? All right. We'll come back down to 12 then. Commissioner comments, questions. Tony? Marie, how'd the farmer's market go this summer?
Good. Yeah, we wrapped up the last one on Tuesday. We didn't blow away in the wind, so sorry. Yeah, we had some weather challenges over the summer, but yeah, I think overall it was a good market. We had somebody from the dispatch out to interview us the last day of the market, so they'll get their report in on the interviews they did with different vendors and stuff, probably in the next edition of the dispatch. But yeah, overall it was great.
Thank you, Mike. Okay. Oh, wait, you had some?
No, I'm good.
I have nothing either. We'll look for a motion to adjourn at 13.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Take care, everyone.